Commander Vrell of the Corthian Empire had seen many things during his 30 cycles of military service. He had witnessed the fall of fortress worlds, the collapse of entire battle fleets, and the surrender of species who thought themselves invincible. He had never, in all his years, heard anything quite as ridiculous as what Captain Morgan Hayes had just told him. "I am sorry," Vrell said, his three eyes blinking in sequence, a gesture his species used when confronting something monumentally stupid. "Could you repeat that?" Captain Hayes, a human woman with short red hair and a smile that suggested she knew something Vrell did not, leaned back in her chair. The negotiation room aboard the neutral station hummed with the soft whir of life support systems. Between them sat a holographic display showing the disputed colony of Theta 7, a moon both species claimed as rightfully theirs. "I said," Hayes replied, her voice dripping with the kind of casual confidence that made Vrell's skin crawl, "that we don't actually have designated snipers in our civilian population. We just have civilians who happen to be very, very good shots." Vrell's mandibles clicked together, a sound of pure disbelief. "You cannot be serious." "Oh, but I am." Hayes tapped the table, and the hologram shifted to show a tactical breakdown of the recent skirmish on Theta 7. "Your elite sharpshooters, the ones you spent years training, got picked off by a farmer, a school teacher, and someone who runs a bakery on weekends." The Corthian commander felt his primary heart skip a beat. He had read the reports. 73 of his best reconnaissance troops, eliminated before they could even establish a forward position. His tactical analysts had assumed the humans deployed their most advanced military units. The idea that civilians had done this was beyond comprehension. "Impossible," Vrell stated flatly. Hayes shrugged. A gesture Vrell had learned meant humans were about to say something either profound or profoundly irritating. Usually the latter. "Look, Commander, I get it. In your culture, military training is special. You select the best candidates, put them through rigorous programs, and create elite units. Am I right?" Vrell nodded slowly. "Humans do things differently," Hayes continued. "We have a bit of a hobby culture when it comes to shooting. Has been that way for centuries. Give a human a target and something to aim with, and they will spend hours, days, years trying to get better at hitting that target. Not because they need to, not because someone ordered them to, just because they can." "That is absurd," Vrell protested, but his voice lacked conviction. Hayes pulled up another file. "Let me introduce you to Marcus Webb. Age 62, grows corn on a farm about 40 kilometers from where your troops landed. He has been entering shooting competitions since he was 12. Never served a day in the military, didn't need to. When your soldiers started advancing through his property, he grabbed his hunting rifle and made 47 confirmed hits from positions ranging from 300 to 800 meters. Vrell stared at the image of the human. He looked old, weathered, with sun-damaged skin and lines around his eyes. This was supposed to be a threat. "Or how about Emma Larson?" Hayes pulled up another profile. "Teaches mathematics to 14-year-olds. Terrible job, by the way. Those kids are monsters. But on weekends she competes in long-range precision shooting. When your scouts tried to set up observation posts near the colony school, she eliminated 11 of them before they even knew where the shots were coming from." The Corthian commander felt a creeping sensation of dread. How is this possible? Precision shooting requires years of training, specialized equipment, constant practice. "Oh, we have all that," Hayes interrupted cheerfully. "We just do it for fun. Humans are weird like that. We will spend ridiculous amounts of time and money becoming excellent at things that have no practical purpose whatsoever. It is called a hobby. You should try it sometime." Vrell's species did not have hobbies. They had duties, responsibilities, and occasionally meditation rituals. The concept of spending vast resources to become skilled at something purely for enjoyment struck him as the height of inefficiency. "And the baker?" he asked, almost afraid of the answer. Hayes grinned. "Thomas Park, makes the best sourdough bread in 3 sectors. Also happens to hold the colony record for consecutive hits at 1,000 meters. Your command unit made the mistake of setting up near his shop. He did not appreciate that. Bad for business, apparently. He killed my officers because it was bad for business?" Well, also because they were invading his home. But yes, the business thing really annoyed him. Vrell slumped in his seat, a posture of defeat his species rarely displayed. The reports suddenly made horrible sense. His military had prepared to face another military. Instead, they had encountered an entire population of potential marksmen, people who could pick up a weapon and perform at levels his elite soldiers trained for decades to achieve. How many? He asked quietly. Hayes tilted her head. How many what? How many of your civilians can shoot like this? The human captain pursed her lips, considering, conservatively, maybe 30% of the adult population, could be higher. Earth alone has hundreds of millions of people who shoot recreationally. The colonies are even more enthusiastic about it. Something about frontier living makes people want to be self-sufficient. 30%, Vrell repeated, his voice hollow. The Corthian Empire had approximately 8,000 certified sharpshooters in their entire military structure. The human colonies in this sector alone contained over 2 million civilians, if even a fraction of Hayes's estimate was accurate. You see the problem, Hayes said, her tone gentler now. You came here thinking you would overwhelm a lightly defended colony. What you found was a place where the person serving you coffee in the morning might be able to put a round through your eye at 600 meters before lunch. This is not warfare, Vrell protested weakly. This is madness. Maybe, Hayes agreed, but it is our madness. Humans have been shooting at things for a very long time. We started with rocks, moved on to arrows, then bullets. We got very good at it. And unlike your military structure, we did not limit that skill to a select few. We spread it around, democratized it, you might say. Vrell looked at the holographic display again, seeing the moon colony with new eyes. Every building could contain someone capable of long-range elimination. Every window a potential firing position. Every civilian a threat his tactical computers had never accounted for. Your species is insane, he said finally. Hayes laughed, a sound that echoed in the negotiation chamber. We get that a lot, but you know what? It works for us. When everyone can defend themselves, defending becomes a lot easier. Your soldiers were not just facing our military, they were facing our entire society. So what happens now? Vrell asked. You have made your point. My forces cannot secure Theta 7 without unacceptable casualties. Do you demand our unconditional withdrawal? The human captain leaned forward, her expression serious. Actually, I was hoping we could talk about sharing the moon. It is big enough for both our colonies. Your people need the mineral deposits in the southern hemisphere. We are more interested in the agricultural zones in the north. Seems silly to fight over it when we could both benefit. Vrell blinked all three eyes again, this time in genuine surprise. You would negotiate? After demonstrating such overwhelming advantage, Commander, if I wanted to wipe out your forces, they would already be gone. Every civilian on that moon knows exactly where your troops are positioned. They have known since day one. The only reason your soldiers are still alive is because we decided not to kill them. The weight of that statement settled over Vrell like a heavy blanket. His entire military operation, his carefully planned invasion, had been tolerated. The humans could have ended it at any time. They had chosen mercy. Why? He asked simply. Hayes smiled again, but this time it reached her eyes. Because despite what you might think, we do not actually enjoy killing. We are very good at it, sure, but that does not mean we want to do it. We would rather find a solution that works for everyone. Although, she added, her grin turning slightly wicked, I should mention that if you try this again, next time we might let Tommy the Baker get creative. You do not want to see what he can do with explosive rounds. Vrell felt his secondary heart flutter. Explosive rounds? Hobby, Hayes said simply. He makes his own ammunition. Very passionate about it. The Corthian commander made a decision. It was not the decision his superiors had sent him to make, but it was the only logical choice remaining. I will recommend we accept your proposal for shared colonization. My government may protest, but I will make them understand the reality of the situation. Smart choice, Hayes said, standing and extending her hand. Vrell knew this was a human gesture of agreement. He reached out with his primary manipulator and grasped her hand, noting the strength in her grip. Tell me something, Vrell said as they shook. The farmer, the teacher, the baker, are they really that skilled, or were you exaggerating? Hayes pulled out a small device and tapped it. A video feed appeared showing a shooting range. An elderly human man, presumably Marcus Webb, stood casually with a rifle. As Vrell watched, the man fired 10 shots in rapid succession. The camera zoomed to show the target, 800 meters away. All 10 shots had hit within a circle smaller than Vrell's fist. That was from last week, Hayes said. He was warming up for a competition. Came in 3rd place, by the way. Lost to a 68-year-old grandmother and a kid who just turned 16. Vrell stared at the screen, then at Hayes. Your species terrifies me. Good, the human captain replied cheerfully. Maybe now we can be friends. Nothing builds friendship quite like mutual respect born from absolute terror. As Vrell left the negotiation chamber, he could not help but laugh, a chittering sound his species made when confronting the truly absurd. He had come here to conquer a colony. Instead, he had discovered that humans had turned the very concept of civilian into something his military training had no answer for. Somewhere on Theta 7, a baker was probably making bread. And that baker could kill him from a kilometer away. The universe, Vrell decided, had a very strange sense of humor. 3 months after the treaty signing, Commander Vrell found himself doing something he never imagined possible. He was standing on Theta 7, watching humans compete in what they called a friendly shooting match. The irony was not lost on him. Captain Hayes stood beside him, wearing civilian clothes, and holding a cup of something she called coffee. The morning sun cast long shadows across the makeshift range, where targets had been set up at distances. Vrell still found uncomfortable to contemplate. You really did not have to come, Hayes said, though her tone suggested she was pleased he had accepted the invitation. I was curious, Vrell admitted. Your government insisted this would help me understand human culture better. I remained skeptical. Just wait, Hayes said with that infuriating smile of hers. The range was filling up with participants. Vrell recognized Marcus Webb, the farmer, chatting casually with a young woman who could not have been more than 20 standard cycles old. Emma Larson, the teacher, was inspecting her rifle, with the kind of care Vrell usually saw in temple priests handling sacred artifacts. And there, setting up at a bench, was Thomas Park, the baker, who waved cheerfully when he spotted them. Morning, Captain, Thomas called out. Brought your alien friend, I see. Hope he is ready to have his mind blown. Tommy? Please do not scare the commander, Hayes replied, though she was grinning. No promises, the baker said, returning to his equipment setup. An elderly human male approached the firing line, and the crowd quieted. He wore a vest covered in colorful patches and carried a clipboard. All right, folks, the man announced, his voice carrying easily across the range. Welcome to the Theta 7 Monthly Open. We have got shooters from ages 15 to 74 competing today. Distances range from 300 to 1200 meters. As always, safety is our priority. Anyone breaking protocols gets disqualified and banned for 3 months. Question? No one spoke. Excellent. Junior Division, you are up first. Vrell watched as a group of teenagers moved to the firing line. They carried rifles that looked well-maintained but not particularly advanced. Certainly nothing like the precision instruments his military snipers used. These are children, Vrell said quietly to Hayes. Teenagers, Hayes corrected. Most of them have been shooting since they were 10 or younger. Family tradition for a lot of folks here. The first teenager, a gangly boy with awkward movements, settled into position. The range officer called out the distance. 500 meters. The boy took a breath, held it, and fired. A moment later, the electronic scoreboard lit up. Hit, center mass. The boy fired 4 more times. 4 more hits. All within a handspan of each other. That was decent, Hayes commented. But watch Lucy. She is the girl third in line, real natural talent. Lucy turned out to be a short teenager, with her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. When her turn came, she moved with fluid efficiency that reminded Vrell of veteran soldiers. Her breathing was controlled, her movements minimal. She fired 5 shots at 700 meters. The scoreboard showed 5 hits. grouped so tightly they almost formed a single whole. The crowd applauded politely. Lucy grinned and gave a small bow. She is 15, Hayes said. Started shooting when she was 8. Her father runs the colony water treatment facility. Her mother is a shuttle pilot. Neither one served in the military. They just liked teaching their kid a useful skill. Vrell felt a familiar sensation of unreality washing over him. This is normal for you. Pretty normal. Yeah, not every kid gets into it. But enough do that we have junior competitions on most colonies. Keeps them out of trouble, teaches discipline and focus. Plus, it is fun. The junior division continued, and Vrell was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. These human children, barely old enough to be considered adults by his species standards, could outshoot 70% of his military personnel. It was humbling and terrifying in equal measure. After the juniors finished, the adult division began. This was where things got truly impressive. Marcus Webb stepped up to the line, and the crowd's energy shifted. People leaned forward, paying closer attention. Clearly the old farmer had a reputation. Marcus holds the colony record, Hayes whispered. 50 consecutive hits at 1,000 meters. No one has beaten it in 3 years. The range officer called out the distance. 1,000 meters, over a full kilometer. Vrell could barely see the target even with his enhanced vision. Marcus settled into his shooting position, with the ease of long practice. His movements were economical, almost lazy. He fired. The scoreboard registered a hit. He fired again. Another hit. By the 5th shot, Vrell realized the old man was breathing normally between shots, not even bothering with the breath control techniques military snipers used. How? Vrell asked, unable to contain himself. Hayes chuckled. 50 years of practice. Marcus has probably fired more rounds in his life than your entire sniper corps combined. Repetition builds skill, Commander. And humans have a lot of patience for repetitive activities when we enjoy them. Marcus finished his string with 10 hits out of 10. The crowd clapped appreciatively, though not enthusiastically. Apparently this level of performance was expected from him. Emma Larson went next. The math teacher approached the line with a different energy than the farmer. Where Marcus was relaxed, Emma was focused, intense. She adjusted her position 3 times before settling, checked her scope twice, and spent nearly a minute just breathing. Then she fired 6 shots in rapid succession. 6 hits at 1,100 meters, grouped within a space smaller than Vrell's head. Emma holds the record for rapid precision shooting, Hayes explained. She can put 10 rounds on target in under 30 seconds at distances where most people need a minute per shot. Why? Vrell asked, genuinely baffled. Why does a math teacher need this skill? Hayes turned to him, and her expression was surprisingly serious. She does not need it, Commander. That is the point. She does it because she wants to. Because it challenges her. Because when everything else in life feels chaotic and uncontrollable, she can come to a range and know that if she does everything right, she will hit her target. There is a purity to that. A simplicity. It is meditation, Vrell said, suddenly understanding. For some people, yes. For others, it is competition. For some, it is just fun. Humans contain multitudes, Commander. We are complicated. The competition continued through the morning. Vrell watched a variety of humans, young and old, male and female, all demonstrating levels of skill that would qualify them for elite military units in his culture. A woman who worked as a hydroponics engineer made 12 consecutive hits at 1,000 meters while casually chatting with her neighbor between shots. A man who repaired atmospheric processors hit 15 targets at varying distances in under 2 minutes. Then Thomas Park stepped up to the line and the atmosphere changed again. Tommy is a crowd favorite, Hayes said with obvious amusement. He treats shooting like baking. Very precise, very experimental. You should see his ammunition reloading setup. It is basically a laboratory. The baker carried a rifle that looked different from the others. Custom built, Vrell realized. Thomas had made modifications that probably violated several safety regulations. Is that weapon safe? Vrell asked nervously. Absolutely, Hayes assured him. Tommy tests everything extensively. He just likes optimizing performance. Engineer's mindset in a baker's body. Thomas called out to the range officer. 1,200 meters, moving targets if you have got them set up. The crowd murmured with interest. Moving targets at 1,200 meters was apparently unusual even by human standards. Show off, Marcus called from the crowd. Though he was smiling, the range officer activated a sequence, and far down range, several targets began moving on tracks, simulating movement patterns. Not fast, but enough to add significant difficulty. Thomas fired, hit, fired again, hit. He continued through 8 shots, hitting 7 of 8 moving targets at a distance. Vrell could barely process. The crowd erupted in genuine applause. Thomas bowed theatrically, clearly enjoying the attention. He missed one on purpose, Hayes said quietly. Tommy likes to keep people guessing about his actual skill level. Says it is more fun when people underestimate him. Your Baker is a tactical thinker, Vrell observed. Most humans are in one way or another. We like having advantages, even in friendly competitions. As the competition wound down, the range officer called for the final event. Team shooting, mixed ages, collaborative targeting. Vrell watched as Marcus, Emma, Lucy the teenager, and Thomas formed a team. They would engage 20 targets at varying distances within a 5-minute window. What followed was a display of coordination that rivaled military units. The 4 humans communicated efficiently, divided targets based on optimal shooter positioning, and executed with mechanical precision. 20 targets, 20 hits, completed in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That is what you faced on Theta 7, Hayes said quietly. Not just individual skill, but the ability to coordinate, to work together without formal command structure. Humans are social creatures, Commander. We cooperate naturally. Vrell watched the team celebrate, watched the crowd congratulate them, watched the easy camaraderie of people who shared a common interest. This was not a military unit. This was a community, and that community had defended itself against his invasion, without even mobilizing its actual military forces. I need to revise our threat assessment protocols, Vrell said finally. Our intelligence completely failed to account for this aspect of human culture. Most species miss it, Hayes agreed. They see our militaries and assume that is where the danger lies. They do not realize that our civilians are often more dangerous because they are more motivated. These people were not following orders when they defended their homes. They were making personal choices. That makes them unpredictable and extremely effective. As the competition concluded and people began packing up their equipment, Thomas Park approached them, still grinning. So, Commander, what did you think? The Baker asked. Still think humans are just lucky amateurs? Vrell considered his response carefully. I think your species has weaponized recreation in ways that defy military logic. It is both impressive and deeply disturbing. Thomas laughed. I will take that as a compliment. Hey, you should come by my shop tomorrow. I will teach you to make sourdough. It requires patience and precision, kind of like shooting. You might enjoy it. I do not bake, Vrell said stiffly. You do not shoot either, I bet, Thomas replied. But you could learn. Hobbies are good for the soul, Commander. Even alien souls. After the Baker walked away, Hayes put a hand on Vrell's shoulder. He is right, you know. Maybe spending time understanding our hobbies would help you understand us better. We are not just a military threat. We are a culture, a civilization. And our strength comes from the fact that we do not separate our civilian and military capabilities into neat boxes. Vrell looked across the range one final time, watching humans laugh and talk, storing their weapons with casual familiarity. These were not soldiers, they were farmers, teachers, bakers, engineers. They were people living ordinary lives who happened to possess extraordinary skills. I will recommend that the Corthian Empire never, under any circumstances, attempt military action against human colonies again, Vrell said. Not because your military is superior, though it is, but because your entire civilization is a military asset whether they intend to be or not. Hayes smiled. Now you are getting it. Come on, I will buy you lunch. Tommy's Bakery makes these sandwiches that will change your life. As they walked toward the colony center, Vrell realized something profound. He had not just learned about human military capability, he had learned about human nature. They were a species that pursued excellence in everything, even activities that seemed pointless. They built communities around shared interests. They taught their children skills that might never be needed, but were valuable nonetheless. And most importantly, they did all of this not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to. That voluntary nature, that intrinsic motivation, made them far more formidable than any conscripted army could ever be. Somewhere in the Corthian Empire, military planners were still designing strategies based on conventional warfare doctrine. Vrell would need to write a very long, very detailed report explaining why all those strategies were worthless against humans. But first he was going to try this sourdough bread everyone kept talking about. After all, if a baker could be a sniper, perhaps a commander could learn to appreciate carbohydrates. The universe was strange, but Vrell was beginning to think that maybe strange was not so bad after all.